Halloween. We'll wake the dead and make the suburbs scream. We can be whoever we want to be. This night can only get better. Let's stay up late watching horror movies. Just remember Freddy's only in dreams. Stay close and we can both avoid the creeps. This night is only getting better.
Can we make this last forever? Pumpkin smile while we're near together. Just make a promise that you'll never break. If I'm your Alice, you'll be my Mad Hatter.
Candy corn and witchy treats. I'll trade your Kit Kat for receipts. You give me the sugar rush of my dreams. My tooth is only getting sweeter. I've got a Dracula cape for you and me to lay on the roof and watch the moon rising. As the bats screech above us and the wolves howl out, we'll know this night can't get any better. That you'll never break. Come and dance with me this Halloween. We'll wake the dead and make the suburbs scream. We can be whoever we want to be. This night can only get better. Let's stay up late watching horror movies. Just remember Freddy's only in dreams. Stay close and we can both avoid the creeps. This night is only getting better.
Can we make this last forever? Pumpkin smile while we're near together. Just make a promise that you'll never break. If I'm your Alice, you'll be my Mad Hatter.
Candy corn and witchy treats. I'll trade your Kit Kat for receipts. You give me the sugar rush of my dreams. My tooth is only getting sweeter. I've got a Dracula cape for you and me to lay on the roof and watch the moon rising. As the bats screech above us and the wolves howl out, we'll know this night can't get any better. That you'll never break. Come and dance with me this Halloween. We'll wake the dead and make the suburbs scream. We can be whoever we want to be. This night can only get better. Let's stay up late watching horror movies. Just remember Freddy's only in dreams. Stay close and we can both avoid the creeps. This night is only getting better.
Can we make this last forever? Pumpkin smile while we're near together. Just make a promise that you'll never break. If I'm your Alice, you'll be my Mad Hatter.
trade your Kit Kat for receipt. You're giving me the sugar rush of my dreams. My tooth is only getting sweeter. I've got a Dracula cake for you and me to lay on the roof and watch the moon rising. As the bats screech above us and the wolves howl out, we'll know this night can't get any better.
Here I am. Hello. I hope everybody can hear me well. Let me know if there's any problem with the sound. We have new streaming software, so you are going to have to just bear with me while I learn to use this. So, yeah. So, I hope everybody had a very happy Halloween. We did here in the crypt, most definitely. Let me see if I can do my camera a little bit better. Hold on just a second, guys. There we go. There. All right. So we've got a fun one tonight, but we're going to give everybody just a couple more minutes. Like I said, it took me a minute to kind of find my way around this new software. So we've got a couple of people in here. Let's see. Let me see if I could do this right. We've got Roots Bleed Red. They say hello. Let's see if I can scroll. We have Nadine. Hey, Nadine, how are you? Do you see my cool font? I can have my cool font. Let's see. And so Roots Bleed Red said they only got the Twitch notification. Yeah, I noticed that in Facebook too. That's the reason we're kind of steering away from a main focus on Facebook. So guys, if you have an account on one of the other platforms, we're on all of them, just set up your notifications over there and make sure that you set up your notifications for all posts and streams. So let's see. Anything else here? Let's find that one. Let's see. Yes. So Roots Blade Red, they got their Guy Fawkes mask. So they're wearing that right now. Very cool. Very cool. And guys, the best way, are we on X tonight? We're supposed to be on X tonight. I had it set up for X tonight. If you want to pop over there and check, that would be awesome. But it's showing we are. And there's Raven. Hello, Raven. How are you? I hope you had a good Halloween. We had an awesome Halloween here. And then Roots Bleed Red's going to do that. Okay, so let's see what else we need to do here before we get started. There we go. Okay. All right. So we've got a really neat one tonight. And I'm really thrilled about this because I try to steer away. Well, I try to steer away from like the ones that everybody's heard like a gabillion times. but I also like to steer away from anything because I know a lot of our viewers are also podcast listeners. So I kind of try to steer away from anything that maybe another podcast may have covered recently. And this one, I was so surprised. It is so steeped in folklore and ghost stories, and there's hardly any podcasts out there that have covered it. So I'm super excited about that. Um, we're going to be talking about the Epping Forest. And I don't mean like effing forest, the Epping, Epping Forest, which is actually very close to London. It's just right over the way. It's actually in, I believe, Essex County, which is kind of like a suburb of London, best I can understand. And again, I am so surprised that there is not more that is covered on this forest because it has everything that you could just about imagine. Um, and I know we've covered some other, haunted forests in Europe and things like this, but this one's pretty interesting. To me, this is it's gonna kind of remind there's certain aspects of this that kind of remind me of the El Gahara, as well as ghosts and folklore and all kinds of really cool stuff. So let's see real quick before we get started. All right. Hmm. That is odd. Yeah, no, not the effing forest. The Epping Forest. I'm sure there's probably a couple of people that would call it the effing forest, but this is the Epping Forest. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I don't know what's going on there over there at X. It could very well have been me that did not set it up correctly, but we'll get it worked out. Like I said, we're still kind of working the kinks out of this new streaming software, which is amazing so far. It helps me remember stuff like when the ticker's running across the bottom and I forget. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me get a drink of water to wet my whistle. All right. Okay. So Britain's ancient forests are the surviving remnants of what was once an extensive woodland that blanketed much of the island for millennia before human civilization, I can't talk tonight, significantly altered the landscape. These woodlands, which predate even Roman times, are far more than just collections of old trees. They are vibrant ecosystems that have endured through the ages. They embody a convergence of history, myth, and nature, offering a window into a time when the land was sculpted by natural processes rather than by industrial human activity. Each forest, from the mighty oaks of the Sherwood associated with Robin Hood to the ancient beaches of Burnham, where legends of Herne the Hunter persisted, narrates tales of endurance and resilience and the adaptation of life over centuries. Recognized as ancient if they stood since at least 1600 AD in England and Wales, or 1750 AD in Scotland. These forests are vital for biodiversity, hosting species that have co-evolved with them, many now rare or even endangered. Their undergrowth teeming with mosses, fungi, and wildflowers nurtures rich tapestries of life for insects to mammals. Beyond ecology, these woodlands are cultural touchstones, documented in literature and folklore, acting as living libraries where layers of leaf litter and roots weave together the stories and lives of countless generations. The allure of Britain's most haunted forests, like Wistman's Wood, Cannock Chase, which we've talked about before, Epping Forest, which we're talking about tonight, and Thetford Forest, not only carry ecological significance, but also bear the weight of history, often standing as silent sentinels to key historical events, blending the natural with the supernatural in our collective psyche. Folklore, passed down through generations, further enrich this depth. Tales like those of Black Shuck, the Phantom Highwaymen, or the Lady in White are not just stories. These are cultural artifacts that speak of a time when the forest was both a source of livelihood and a realm of the unknown. This intertwining of history with myth creates an environment where the past feels palpable. Forests, by their very nature, are places where light plays tricks, sounds are muffled or amplified, and visibility is often limited, creating an environment where imagination can run wild, evoking feelings of insignificance in the face of ancient forces, both natural and perhaps supernatural. Areas where boundaries between the known and the unknown blur. But in certain special places, they may not be just mere tricks of the mind. They could indeed be echoes from our past. The remnants of souls caught in an eternal loop, seeking solace, or perhaps just someone to tell their tale. Epping Forest, a sprawling woodland on the outskirts of London, stands as a sentinel of history and nature. This forest, which has been designated as a protected area for centuries, weaves together the tales of royal hunts, legendary outlaws, and spectral ghosts with its ecological significance, offering a sanctuary where the hustle of the city fades into the whispers of the past. Epping Forest, along with, and I'm going to do my best to pronounce these correctly, Hainault and Hatfield forests, represent the remnants of the historic Forest of Essex. This ancient woodland once spanned 60,000 acres, but now only encompasses about 6,000 acres, but it is filled with ancient oaks and beeches, open heaths, which are, they're more of a, they're kind of like prairies, but more moisture. So think of like scrub, like open, not necessarily fields, but just open areas where it's like scrub brush. The Epping Forest also has bogs, ponds, and grasslands. It stretches 12 miles from Manor Park in East London to areas just north of Epping in Essex. Located on a ridge between the Lee and Roding valleys, and that's Lea, Lee, Leah. The area that became Epping Forest has been continuously wooded since Neolithic times. So this forest is like really old. Like it kind of reminds me of what was the name of that forest in The Hobbit? I can't remember, but it kind of reminds me of that when you think of just a forest that old. Excuse me. Embankments of two Iron Age earthworks, Lawton Camp and Amesbury Banks, can be found in the woodland. The area is thought to have been given legal status as a royal forest by Henry II in the 12th century. At the time, it was part of the much larger Forest of Essex, which covered nearly all of the country, or county, I'm sorry. The term forest was a legal term, meaning that forest law applied, meaning that only the king had the rights to hunt deer. Now, the peasants and other people, they had rights of like travel. They could go in there, they could collect wood, they could let their cattle go to graze or their graze animals to go in there, to forage and things like that, but they could not hunt. This was considered the royal forest. Now, the Forest of Essex gradually shrank in size as land was removed from forest law, and it was replaced by a number of much smaller forests. While much of its rich history and folklore has faded into obscurity, the tales that remain often paint a picture of the forest's more sinister and less inviting aspects, starkly contrasting with its enigmatic allure. So it's really pretty during the daytime. It's pretty spooky at night with some of the pictures that I've seen. Now, historically, the forest served as a sanctuary for those fleeing from the plague, as well as the aerial bombardments of London during World War II. Epping Forest also has a history of being a sanctuary for outlaws and highwaymen, like the famous Dick Turpin. Now, Dick Turpin was one of the most notorious highwaymen in English history and has become an iconic figure in folklore, often, however, being romanticized for his daring escapes. But if you read what a lot of historians say, he was not a nice man. Like a lot of times, from what I understand, he was somewhat compared to like a Robin Hood figure. No, no, he was not a good guy. Now, while much of his legend associates him with the north of England, particularly around York, where he met his end, Turpin's earlier criminal activities are believed to have taken place in the south, including the areas around London. Epping Forest, with its dense cover and proximity to key roads like the Old London to Newmarket route, served as an ideal hideout for Turpin and his ilk during his heyday in the early 1800s, or 18th century, I'm sorry. Local lore suggests that Turpin used Epping Forest not only as a hideout, but also as an escape route after his highway robberies. The forest provided ample opportunities to evade capture with its like just multiple paths and the ability to easily disappear into its vast wooded expanse. There are stories of Turpin, along with his gang, lying in wait for unsuspected travelers, emerging from the shadows of the forest to rob them, and then vanish back into the wilderness. The tales of his exploits in the area have become part of the forest's own legend, adding another layer of intrigue to its history. Now, one of the most enduring parts of Dick Turpin's legend is associated with Epping Forest involves his horse, Black Bess. According to folklore, Black Bess was not only Turpin's loyal steed, but also a character in her own right. Known for her speed and endurance, there are tales of Black Bess, her spectral form, galloping through the forest on a moonlit night, her hooves barely touching the ground. The legend of Dick Turpin and Black Bess has permeated the cultural fabric of the area, inspiring stories, songs, and even plays. And as far as ghosts, well, both visitors and locals alike have reported hearing the ghostly sounds of her approaching hooves thundering in the quiet night, or seeing a dark shape darting through the trees. This is believed to be the spirit of Bess running free. So let's see what's going on in the comments real quick, and then we'll get back to it. Yeah, pretty much that effing forest. Yes. So, election day is on the 5th of November. Remember the 5th, or the 5th of November. I'm sorry. The 5th of November. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to blame the Sasquatches for whatever's going on over there at X. For whatever reason. I don't know why it's not showing up. That is so bizarre. And Frank says, hello, everyone. We are so glad you're here, Frank. And so Frank asked, is there a McCoy forest? I don't know. I don't, not anywhere near this one. But I tell you, this whole area is just so cool to look at. Like I had to put on blinders to keep from going down a rabbit hole when it came to Essex County, period. Like that place has got so much going on. And it's like, I guess, again, I've never been over there, but from what I understand, like geographically, it's on one end of this forest. And there's all kinds of things that happen in Essex. I don't know about that, but we'll go with it. So Frank said he also created turpentine as a means to clean his prints off of stolen merchandise. Let's see, my eyesight is going. But much to his amazement, it cleaned the paint right off. And he's partaking in the devil's lettuce right now. Yes, and it will also be Taco Tuesday. It will also be Taco Tuesday. Oh, is Mr. Giggles in here? Hello, Mr. Giggles. Oh, hold on. Yes, I did find the fonts. Yes, I did. Okay. All right. So let's get back to this. The forest's ecological richness, with its diverse wildlife, has its own eerie charm as well. The eerie calls of owls, the rustle of leaves, and the occasional glimpse of a deer or fox at dusk can set the stage for a natural symphony that feels both enchanting as well as unsettling. This environment, where human history and nature intertwine, creates an atmosphere where the imagination can easily conjure up spirits, fairies, or ancient rites, making Epping Forest not just a place of mystery, but a living testament to the stories that have shaped its lore. So, right now, I'm going to talk about the legend of the Green Man. Now, the Green Man is an enduring and multifaceted figure in British folklore, often depicted as a face surrounded by or made of leaves, symbolizing the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. This imaginary is prevalent in medieval architecture. It's found in churches and cathedrals as carvings and is thought to represent the spirit of nature or the forest itself. In Epping Forest, the Green Man takes on a role not just of symbolism, but as an active guardian spirit, deeply intertwined with the forest's ancient woodland. Within the lore of Epping Forest, the Green Man is considered a protector of nature, embodying the forest's life force. He watches over the woodland, ensuring that its balance is maintained against those who might exploit it or harm it. Tales speak of him as a benevolent presence that aids travelers who show respect to the forest. However, to those who come with ill intent or disregard for nature, he might manifest as a warning or even a deterrent. His presence felt in the rustling leaves and the sudden change of wind, or an inexplicable sense of being watched. The legend of the Green Man in Epping Forest also serves as a reminder of the forest's ancient origin. Epping Forest has 55,000 ancient trees, more than any other single site in the United Kingdom, some of them dating back to around 1,000 years old. That's old. That's an old tree. Now, a side note, the area, and the reason I'm doing this side note is because there's going to be some references to these particular types of trees. And I'm going to show you a picture of them just so you can understand what they look like. Because I've seen them in movies. They're kind of bizarre looking trees. So in this area, the historic land has had an enormous impact on the area, the character, and the ecology. This is particularly evident with the pollard trees, and that's Pollarded. So the pollard trees, which were cut back to the boley, the permanent base of the pollard, every 13 years or so. And let me see if I can find that picture real quick. Hold on. Let's see. I hope I can get it up here and then get it off of the screen. Let's see. That right there. That's a pollard. Okay. And so they would cut it down to the bowling, which is, you can see, it's like a hand. So let me see if I can get this off of here. Hold on just 1 second. Hold on, guys. Let's see what I can do. Let's see. There we go. Phew. Whew. I thought we were going to have to be looking at a tree all night long. All right. So it looks kind of like a hand. Now, it was normally in the past cut down every 13 years or so. And these are the trees that they would use to build like ships and things like that back during the time that Great Britain like ruled the seas. Like these are trees that are really old and have been used for a very long time. And the really weird thing about it is the way that they start looking really creepy. And in some of them, it's almost like you can see faces. It's kind of creepy. So anyway, so the bowling was cut just above the brows line of the wild and domestic. It was cut. So basically the wild and the domestic animals couldn't get up to the areas that they needed to use for like shipbuilding, house building, whatever they used the wood for. However, the forest pollards have not been cut back since the passing of the Epping Forest Act, which that act happened in 1848. So almost 100 years, no, almost 200 years ago. So what happens is, so now they've grown with such massive crowns, and they're so thick, like the trunk-like branches, that it gives them not only kind of an unusual appearance, but, and this is terrifying to me because you will realize the older you get, you start developing phobias. And I am absolutely terrified of trees falling on my house or falling on me. I don't know what it is, but I'm terrified of trees. They're like my nemesis when it comes to that kind of stuff. But these things have gotten so big and so overburdened with like weight that they can't even hold their own weight. So they're constantly dropping like huge limbs. And so there's like a lot of dead wood throughout the forest wherever you find these bowling or these pollard trees. But that would just be awful, walking in the woods and one of those things fall on top of your head. But anyway, with that deadfall though, it does help to support like numerous rare species and fungi and invertebrates and things like that. Now, the Green Man is linked to old rites and pagan celebrations of spring and renewal, where the forest was revered as a place of magic and life. So we're getting back to the Green Man. Stories might tell of encounters where the Green Man appears to those lost in the forest, guiding them to safety, or in folklore, teaching them a lesson about the sanctity of nature. His presence is often invoked during local festivals or reenactments, celebrating the forest's renewal and the coming of spring, tying contemporary culture to ancient beliefs. Oh, and there went my cat. All right. Now, additionally, stories of lost travelers, unexplained noises, and sightings of spectral figures or lights add to the mystique of Epping Forest. The forest's vastness and the ease with which one can get disoriented within it amplify these feelings of unease, making the forest a place where the veil between both the known and the unknown seems particularly thin. Reports of headless bikers, horseless carriages, gray figures of various shapes and sizes, and black shadow people are but a few and are all reported as being seen over the years along the Epping New Road. That sounds so funny. Epping New Road between Robin Hood and the Wakes Arms. So the name of the road is Epping New Road. It's just, I keep thinking effing New Road, Epping Forest. So anyway, Epping Forest. All right. So the ghost of Boudica. She was the queen of, basically the Celtic queen of a tribe that dates around AD 60, so way back a long time ago. And she's got her own story. Hang on just a second, guys. Sorry. But she's got her own story, Boudica does. But she is believed to hunt the forest. There's poltergeist activity is also a regular occurrence, with people reporting being pushed or touched by unseen hands. Apparitions have been known to show themselves also. On one occasion, a man was spotted wearing a tricorn hat, which is kind of like the Paul Revere hats, and a cape on a black horse. Motorists often report a troubled spirit who is said to run out in front of your vehicle, stare you straight in the eyes, and then disappear before your eyes. So he runs out in front of your car, you freak out, he looks at you, you think you're going to hit him, and then poof, he disappears. Which to me seems like it could cause a lot of accidents and, things like that. So now the ghost of a young girl who was reportedly drowned near the King's Oak pub has also been seen, as well as a headless horseman. The forest's dense, sometimes impenetrable thickets and the ancient oaks with their gnarled branches create an atmosphere where the light barely penetrates in some parts of the forest, fostering a sense of isolation and a timelessness that can feel otherworldly. But there are darker things associated with the present-day Epping Forest, and that would be the unusual amounts of deaths, murders, and suicides associated with the forest. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break real quick for our midway, and then we're going to get into this. And for you guys that are sensitive to murder, death, and suicide, that's what we're going to be talking about when I get back. So, and this is the part that really kind of reminds me of the Aogahara and how some places, I don't know what it is, how some places just seem to draw in certain things. Just very bizarre, but we'll be right back.
Blazing skies, the world in flames. Nuclear fire, unforgiving claims. I survived through the dust and ash. Came back in time to give you a chance.
All right, and we're back. So let's see what's going on in the comments real quick, and then we will get into this. So let's see. Let's get back over here. I can see the comments. Hi, Mr. Giggle says hi. Hello. And then let's see. And then Nadine says the Green Man, or the typo negative song, The Green Man. I always liked The Green Man. I always thought he was cool. He's scary. He can be scary. He does have a dark side, but I always liked him. He can be. Yeah, he can be. I guess it just depends on kind of what thread you go with. He could be associated with Pan. He could be associated with it Bacchus. Um and of course the devil. But yeah, I think, to me, I think they're all one and the same, to be very honest with you. Calvin over on Twitch. Hello. And he says, hello, Akia and Roots Bleed Red. And then Roots Bleed Red says hello. Yes, I'm stalling because I don't want to get done too quickly, because I got done really quickly last time. Let's see. Not Bukkake. Bukia. And that, yeah. And let's see, we got Ricky in the house. Hello, Ricky. How are you? And then Roots Bleed Red says, I love the Green Man. Yes, I do too. I used to have a really cool, and it finally broke. It hung out for years. I had gone to one of those like specialty garden places, and you know those tube bird feeders that you can fill up, and they've usually got like different areas where like cardinals and different birds can feed off of it. I found one that was it was hand like thrown like and fired. It was the Green Man on both sides, and he had his mouth open with his tongue coming out for the birds to sit on it. And it hung out in my garden for so long that eventually, like, we had a really, really cold winter one year, and I guess it had gotten some moisture or something in it, and it cracked and fell apart. I was so sad. It was the coolest thing. All right. So again, for anybody that's new joining us, we are getting into some things that they're going to be talking about: death, murder, and suicide. So if you're super sensitive to that, this may not be the section for you. So, all right, let's get started. So, all the ghosts and everything aside, Epping Forest even has a darker side. Now, just to give you kind of an idea, as we go through this, I'm going to tell you about certain incidences that have occurred. Yes, I'm going to use names because these people that I have listed, it's at least 80 years ago. So 80 years to probably 120 years ago, if not older. So deaths, let's just talk about deaths. Sidney Howell, and remember, we're talking like industrial revolution time, or before. So the way some of these were listed in the newspaper is going to be different than how we spoke or how we speak now. So Sidney Howell, age 52, shot himself while of unsound mind in 1935 on the 20th of September. Alexander Scott Grove, age 50, suspended by a white silk handkerchief around a thick oak tree on the 25th of November, 1844. Jules Meyer hanged himself he was of a peculiar mind. July 6, 1902. John Thompson, age 25, in 1907, September, poisoned himself near the pond. And we're going to talk about the pond here in a minute. Edward Reese Jones, age 37, 3rd August, 1928, throat cut, self-inflicted in forest. George Danhire, sentenced to prison for wounding a woman with a razor in Epping Forest on February of 1923. 30 years old, unknown man found hanging in Epping Forest in 1901 with a note in his pocket saying, "I am sick." So they considered it a suicide. August 1900, a couple found intertwined together with a gun near shot themselves, Augustine and Olga. Williams Henry Oates, age 33, found dead with severed arteries between thumb and forefinger in each hand, 25th of January, 1885. 26th of March, 1892. Unknown, respectable 21-year-old man found with a gunshot wounds to his mouth. William Hudson, November 19, 1881, a single dad with 7 children who he did not send to school, found with gunpowder in his mouth, dead. Thomas Weaver, age 51, found dead with gunshot wounds to his mouth, July 21st, 1900. Henry Carter, age 40, found dead with gunshot wounds to his mouth, January the 11th, 1902. August 1st, 1883, William Newman poisoned himself at age 70. 22-year-old man with his throat cut found in 1884, August. 1934, John Wilmot, 34 years, man died from a head injury, thought to have been murdered, 30th of June. 1892, unidentified man of unsound mind was cut from the trees, January 30th, 1892. October 1892, 22-year-old man found with gunshot wound to his head, stated of unsound mind for the previous few months. November 1955, woman found in shallow grave in Epping Forest, Eileen Dora Taylor, age 31. We're almost done. June 1933, 2 people were struck by lightning in Epping Forest and killed. James Scott, 17, and Mr. Ewing Hunter, age 70 years old. July 1863, 18-year-old Eileen Smoot was stabbed and killed, then buried in the forest by her lover. Phyllis Brace, age 24, found dead in dense undergrowth and mud, July 1936. Now, so that gives you an idea. And based on statistical data between 2018 and 2020 alone, 26 people have taken their own lives within that 2-year period in Epping Forest. Now, Epping Forest, with its sprawling, shadowy expanse, has long served as an ideal locale for things to vanish without a trace, particularly people. Over the decades, the forest has reluctantly given up the secrets of its soil, revealing the remains of numerous individuals buried within it. It has been the backdrop to multiple sinister acts, with over a dozen murder victims unearthed since 1960. One particularly gruesome scene involved a woman found deceased in her own vehicle with an arrow bolt from a crossbow still lodged in her skull. Additionally, the notorious triple murderer Harry Roberts once utilized this forest's dense cover to elude the law, managing to stay hidden until his capture in 1966. And we're going to get into the murders here in just a minute, but let's see what's going on in the comments. Let's see. Right? So Ricky says, rip to all. I tell you what, rest in peace to all of them. And look, these are just the people that, like, there were a couple of suicides that were suspected that were kind of thrown in there. But there's more we're going to go through here in a minute. All right. So Nadine says, I missed the beginning. All right. I missed the beginning. Where is this forest located? What country? Okay. So this is Epping Forest. It is really just kind of right across the Thames from London. It's very close to London. It's still considered an ancient forest. It encompasses nowadays about 6,000 square acres, which is about 12 miles. And it is within Essex County. But the really weird thing about it, it's got, like, I haven't even, like, I have just scraped the surface of this forest, or we would be here for 3 hours. But there's very few podcasts that I found that I mean, they may mention maybe something, like one thing out of all the hundreds and hundreds of things you could talk about related to Epping Forest or even Essex County. Essex County's got some weird stuff that I'm going to go back and look at, but I had to keep those blinders on so I didn't go down a rabbit hole. But yeah, you can't find a whole lot on it when it comes to, like, listening to a podcast. You can find lots on it if you know what you're looking for. But it's basically knowing what you're looking for. Because this area is kind of known for a lot of different things. And one of them we're about to get into, which I'm just going to kind of touch on it a little bit. But it could have its own episode. But we're going to get into the murders now. And probably one of the most well-known cases would be the case called the Babes in the Woods murders. Now, the Babes in the Woods murders are the murders of 2 children which occurred in a copse in Stewardstone, Essex, on the 31st of March of 1970. And I know everybody knows what a copse is, but just in case you don't, it's kind of like a clump of trees, like a little wooded area. Now, the victims, Susan Muriel Blatchford, age 11, and Gary John Hanlon, age 12, were lured from an unknown location close to their North London homes into a copse of trees on the outskirts of Epping Forest, where they were raped and murdered by now known pedophile Ronald Jebsen. Their bodies were discovered on the 17th of June, 1978, I'm sorry, June 17th, which would have been 78 days later after the 2 were reported missing by their parents. The case remained unsolved for almost 30 years until 61-year-old Jebsen, serving a life sentence for the 1974 murder of an 8-year-old girl named Rosemary Papper, confessed to their rape and murder in 1998. So they didn't know who had murdered these children until 1998. He was convicted of both murders in May of 2000. Jebsen eventually died in prison in 2015. Now, 1909 Sergeant Major Silwood found, okay, so this is something else. So that was like one of the best known murders, as well as just all, like, the lady with the bolt, the crossbow bolt and stuff like that in her head. Let's see what I've got here. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about another aspect, and I'm going to go through this list. All right, let's see. So in 1909, Sergeant Major Silwood was found drowned in a shallow pond in Epping Forest. Mary Jane Heathcote killed her 3 children, aged 3 and 5, by drowning them in the lake in July of 1891, basically stating that she could not cope. A young woman by the name of Frances Robertson, found dead in the forest, considered foul play, found drowned in the deepest part of a lake 15 feet down in June of 1887. December of 1858, woman and baby murdered and found in a lake in Epping Forest. June of 1907, well-dressed man found drowned in a pond. 60-year-old man found drowned in a pond, Epping Forest, 1903. Death of a woman in a lake in Epping Forest, Miss Chamberlain of unsound mind, the 12th of October, 1895. Now, Epping Forest has over 100 lakes and ponds that can be found within the forest, which vary in size and age. While several were formed as part of just basically the landscape, a few were actually the result of the Second World War II bombs and V-2 rockets during like the bombing of London. That's how some of these lakes and ponds were created. Now, the reason I told you about some of these deaths related to water is because the Epping Forest is also very well known for a pond, a pool, a lake. But the weird thing about it is you're not going to find it on any map. Now, you won't find Epping Forest, and they call it the suicide pool. You won't find Epping Forest's suicide pool on any map. That may be for the best. Who knows? This tragic place may have even dried up and vanished if it ever existed at all. Since no one seems to know its current whereabouts or is willing to admit if they do, the truth remains elusive. However, the tale behind it is well known, tracking back to approximately 300 years to a pair of ill-fated lovers. Their love was forbidden, yet they found solace by a secluded pool in the forest. Tragedy struck when the girl's father discovered their secret. In a fit of rage, he waited at their meeting spot, ultimately killing his daughter and casting her body into the pool. When her lover came upon the scene, he was overwhelmed by grief, walked into the water, and drowned himself in a desperate bid to join her in the afterlife. Now, following this horrific event, it is said that the pool darkened. No vegetation would thrive near it, and soon the bodies of animals began to appear all along its shores. Now, this might simply be due to contamination, whether that be from something else or from decomposing bodies. But the lore of the pool doesn't stop there. It is said to be haunted by a malevolent spirit that entices people to their watery doom. Known victims include a young servant named Emma, along with her infant, and an unnamed woman in 1887. In 1959, a competition was held by Essex Countryside magazine in an attempt to find out where this pool was. Now, in a secondary edition of the journal, another correspondent suggested that she was sure the pond in question was the Wake Valley Pond, which may have acquired this reputation. However, a third writer derided this suggestion, claiming to know exactly where the prodigious waters were situated. However, the lady refused point blank to divulge the location. In her letter, she told the magazine that she knew exactly where the pool was, but would never tell, insisting that it was too wicked and dangerous a place to reveal. And I quote from her letter. The suicide pool is deep in the heart of the forest, far from any road. Birds are never heard. Squirrels and deer shun its vicinity. No one fishes there, for there are no fish. It is dark, dank, evil, and malignant, with an atmosphere unpleasant to behold, which is basically beyond description. I doubt if the sunshine ever penetrates through the surrounding trees. If it did, it would never lighten the black waters. Those who visited the pool, however doubtful they may have been about the supernatural, always come away after a short time, unless they end up dead in its waters, as many mysteriously do. Now, an Elliot O'Donnell from Haunted Britain in 1948 gives further information, as he claims to have had firsthand experience of it. And I quote, "The pool, which is 10 feet deep and very weedy in places, has been the scene of many mysterious tragedies, whence it derives its name. People who have been thought by their most intimate friends to have no inclination to commit suicide have been found drowned in the pool. I have done several nocturnal vigils by the pool, and although I visualized no ghost, I more than once sensed a mixture of influences in the atmosphere and the near proximity of unearthly presences, some very miserable and others definitely evil." And that's something that, if you like start researching about some of these suicides, especially that are related to like water and things like that within the Epping Forest, um, people come from a long way away, and it's people that their loved ones and friends would have said, this person never showed any inclination of suicide. Um, so that is again, uh, it seems to have some parallels with the Aogahara, because some people say that the Aogahara will basically, I guess, draw the kind of people, it will draw people in, and if it wants you, it will keep you. If it doesn't want you, it will let you go. And we went over that like years ago. I guess we need to go back and revisit the Aogahara. A lot of weird stuff there. So, but there is a story as we kind of close up on what we're talking about, that circulates among the forest walkers about a particular path that appears only to those who are contemplating suicide. This path leads directly to the pond, hidden from all others. One hiker, deeply troubled, stumbled upon it one evening. As he walked, the forest around him grew silent, the air colder. At the pond's edge, he saw figures in the water beckoning him. But just before he stepped in, a sudden burst of sunlight broke through the canopy, dispelling the illusion. The path vanished, and the pond looked ordinary once more. He left shaken, never to return, but warned others of the deceptive path that leads only to sorrow. And that is Epping Forest. So I hope you enjoyed that. We're going to look at the comments real quick, and then I'm going to say pleasant nightmares. So let's see what's going on in the comments real quick. So Ricky said, just imagine walking through the forest. You can hear the souls of the victims screaming. You know, there are tales of things like that. Like I said, I only like scrape the surface of this forest. I mean, if you're really interested in it, just look it up. I mean, there's all kinds of rabbit holes you can go down related to the folklore and urban legends and just history behind this area. And let's see. Repeat, stay out of there, y'all, if you're going walking in the AM and PM. I mean, I would love to see it. Don't get me wrong. I would love to see it, but it does sound like a very, very spooky place. And Frank says, that was awesome, Fwien. Well, I am glad you enjoyed that. And I am glad I was somewhat able to navigate around the new streaming software. I just need to lay out things a little bit different, like lay some things out so I can get to them a little bit quicker. But yeah, this was cool. And I can see the comments a lot better too. I like this. I like this a lot. A whole lot. We just need to figure out what's going on with X. It was probably operator error right here. So, all right, guys, let's see if I can do the out video. And I'm going to wish you guys pleasant nightmares, guys. Let's hide you guys. Hold on just a second. Whoop. All right. And we will see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye. Yo.
I don't set the world higher. I don't